Tonight on Connecticut's news station, a soggy start to the week, heavy rain and wild wind. We'll look at how communities are cleaning up.
Hundreds of Eversource crews on the ground responding to power outages. We're getting an update on the restoration progress.
While the year is coming to a close, we're looking back at all the major weather events from Connecticut in 2023.
Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Well, cleanup is underway after a major rain and windstorm. Every corner of the state was affected. Rain flooded streets during the busy morning commute.
And winds whipping through trees, bringing down branches and knocking out power lines, causing outages in many cities and towns.
Big question, though, is what can we expect for the rest of the night now that that rain has really moved through?
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us now with the answer. Rach.
The news is that things are going to get much calmer here moving forward. Thank goodness. Temperatures will tumble into the 30s, but most of the state will stay above freezing, and winds will continue to slowly diminish as well. But our storm is out of here, and it continues to race away from us. We are still seeing gusts up between 20 to 30 miles per hour, but not the 40 to 60 mile per hour gusts that we had out there this morning. The coastal flood warning that was previously in effect has just been allowed to expire. There still could be some minor flooding, though, along the immediate shoreline for the next hour or so, especially in southeastern Connecticut, where the flooding was the most prominent today, right along the immediate shoreline. And there's also river flood warnings that are ongoing. The Yantic River is experiencing major flooding through tonight before it ends up dropping off. But some of the bigger rivers won't actually crest until another day or two. In fact, the Connecticut River at East Haddam won't crest until Wednesday, as all of the rain that fell today combines with all of the rain that fell to the north, and it all has to head downstream. So that will crest at moderate levels. So moderate flooding for the Still River, the Housatonic River, and the Farmington River as things ease up as we head through the coming days. Temperatures right now are still mild. Tomorrow looks like a nice quiet day, highs in the low to mid 40s. How does it look heading closer to Christmas? Your full forecast coming up.
All right, Rachel, thank you. And so much rain fell in such a short amount of time that stormwater systems became overwhelmed in Meriden. The heavy rain flooded streets while the powerful winds brought down trees and power lines. Fox 61's Matt Karen spent the day surveying the damage and talking to people impacted by the wet weather. She joins us now live with the story. Matt.
Yeah, the damage was easy to see really wherever you went here in Meriden. Right now we're live outside the police department, where inside all day they've had their emergency operations center open, and that's so the city can easily communicate with the community and to better communicate with tree and power line crews.
This whole street is completely flooded.
Waterfront property, Summer Street in Meriden, notorious for flooding. Just 4 months ago in August, our cameras captured a flotilla of trash.
Overnight, we did get, those not only high winds, but a large amount of rain in a rather short period of time, which causes these flooding issues. It's not unique to Meriden. However, Meriden does have a history of flood-prone areas.
As streets became flooded Monday morning, social media quickly followed suit, flooded with the images from a backyard on Newton Street to this blocked culvert on Lyman Ave. Here on Lyman Ave in Meriden, you can hear and see the problem. There's a culvert that runs underneath this road carrying water. You can hear there's water, but this storm drain is completely blocked by debris and the culvert overgrown with vegetation. It completely flooded this area. Parking lots and property turned to ponds across the Silver City. But the flooding wasn't the only problem.
A 60 mile per hour wind, trees fell down and then knocked out the pole.
High winds overnight knocked down trees like here at the corner of Broad and Britannia Streets, knocking out power to the nearby Nathan Hale Elementary School. No power?
No power.
What's your plan for the day?
Sit right here and watch them put up the pole.
The school secured some generator power and kept the kids in the gym until they were dismissed early. Parents told us they wish the district made an earlier decision to cancel.
Absolutely. They are not, they weren't ready for what happened, and were clearly here at noon picking them up. So
I think the only good reason that they had school is, maybe if other kids had their houses out of power, it gives them a safe place to be. But yeah, we could have canceled today.
Monday's storm packed a punch. The Eversource map showed few communities were spared from outages. And Mayor Scarpati told me that ultimately he thinks it was the right decision to keep the schools open, noting that a lot of kids rely on the schools to actually get a meal, and because by the time Nathan Hale lost power, kids were already on the bus and teachers were already in the classroom. For now, we're live here in Meriden outside the police department. Matt Karen, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Thank you, Matt. The overnight storm slammed much of the shoreline, bringing down trees, wires, and causing flooding along the coast. Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc joins us in Guilford with a look at what the wet weather left behind there. Julia.
Police departments like this one were inundated with calls overnight, responding to the aftermath of the storm. And it's not over just yet, with some roads still closed and cleanup crews working around the clock. Overnight storms keeping first responders busy along the Connecticut shoreline.
Between the hours of 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. is when we really got busy.
That's when Battalion Chief Adam Hansen says Milford Fire responded to more than 14 calls for service.
And those calls ranged from wires down to transformer fires to utility pole fires. And we had somebody call thinking that their house was on fire with a full assignment.
Many of those calls coming from neighbors living on Alden Court, where the wet weather and wind gusts took down this massive tree and all the power lines with it. Eventually, the telephone pole caught fire, burning out for hours until utility crews took over.
Obviously, there's a lot of electricity going through those lines, and most people know that water and electricity do not mix very well. We would never apply water to live wires, live overhead wires, and risk getting electrocuted.
And first responders not immune to falling trees either. This was the scene in Guilford, where overnight an officer had a close call while responding to a call for a downed wire.
And that's when he reported that he heard a snapping noise, and before he can even react to it, he had a tree across the front of his vehicle.
Guilford Police Chief Christopher Massey is thankful that officer walked away from that scene without a scratch while he was out protecting his community.
Police officers, firefighters, public works, utility workers, we need to be out in the storm. We need to be out there trying to make the roads safe.
A job that felt never ending from morning to mid-afternoon.
Our dispatcher position was inundated with phone calls, basically from early this morning until the middle of this afternoon.
Now, Chief Massey says he also got a lot of calls overnight and early this morning for people removing cones, barriers, and tape from already closed roadways. He says, of course, he wants to remind everyone those barriers are there for a reason. Do not remove them, and when you see them, take an alternate route. We are in Guilford. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Julia, thank you. And thousands of customers are still without power tonight after that severe weather swept through the state.
Eversource says they'll have crews working throughout the night restoring power.
Fox 61's DeAndrea Turner joins us live in Hartford now to break down the numbers on how many more restorations they have to work through. DeAndrea.
Hi, Brent and Sarah. Well, Eversource officials tell me that they've already restored more than 100,000 customers' powers today. However, they have at least 65,000 more customers to go. Now, officials say they have more than 1,200 crews with all hands on deck situation. They've restored 46 schools so far, with 36 more to go. They also say while the outages were widespread across the state, the eastern part of the state was hit the hardest. Officials say that this will be a multi-day restoration event as they focus on the largest hit communities going down to the smallest hit.
I mean, it's an across-the-board effort, and we will be working through the night. Our crew numbers do go down over the night. We make more progress in the light of the day, so the preponderance of our crews will finish up very late tonight. They return at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, but we still have a host of troubleshooters and a handful of crews that go through the night just to keep momentum going.
And speaking of those crews, officials also say that they are double shifting their crews in order to make sure that they get the power back on, down trees down from up off the street, and also power lines up as well. In Hartford, DeAndrea Turner, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, DeAndrea, thank you. And you can keep track of the weather and traffic alerts on your phone by downloading the free Fox 61 app with the QR code on your screen here. And you can also stay updated online at fox61.com and, of course, on the air all morning long. Well, the state's Public Utility Regulatory Authority, known as PURA, was set to meet tonight to discuss a possible rate hike, but that meeting has been postponed because of the weather. A new date will be announced in the coming days. Connecticut Natural Gas wants to raise rates by at least 4%. Southern Connecticut Gas is asking for a 9% hike. The changes would add $20 to $40 to the average heating bill.
Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones says he'll pay Sandy Hook families a minimum of $55 million over 10 years. That's just a fraction of the $1.5 billion awarded to the families in a lawsuit against Jones for calling the school shooting a hoax. Meanwhile, the families have filed their own proposal. They're seeking to liquidate nearly all of his assets. Jones and the free speech systems filed for bankruptcy last year. One person was taken to the hospital after a house fire in New Britain. It happened just before 12:30 at a two-family home on Belden. Crews believe the fire started in an illegal attic apartment. A man with burns jumped out a window before crews arrived. He was taken to the hospital. His condition, though, is unclear. 2 others safely got out on their own.
Waterbury police are investigating a homicide tonight. Police say they responded to Kenyon Street yesterday just after 4:30 p.m. And that's where they found 22-year-old Jordan Robinson with gunshot wounds. He was taken to a hospital where he died from his injuries. Anyone with any information on what happened should call Waterbury Police.
Governor Lamont and community leaders are celebrating the start of Connecticut's Clean Slate law, affecting more than 100,000 people across the state. Officials tell us people will have records erased by early next year. The law automatically erases lower-level felonies and misdemeanor crimes from records as long as those crimes happen in or after the year 2000. If the crime happened before then, the law creates a process for people to have the crimes eventually erased.
Still to come here on the news.